Let's get straight into it. If you're a media buyer, a SaaS founder, or an automation operator, and you are still relying on a standard browser pixel to track your purchases, your attribution is broken. It's really that simple. Welcome to the Explainer. Today we are completely bypassing the beginner fluff and jumping straight into elite attribution infrastructure. We're talking about how to bypass the browser entirely using a Make.com Stripe webhook. We're going to push flawless, unblockable, first-party data directly into the Meta Conversions API. If you want to stop bleeding your return on ad spend and actually restore your tracking accuracy, you're going to want to pay very close attention to this architecture. I want you to really think about this number, 40%. If you're relying on standard browser pixels for your Meta ROAS right now, you are currently hemorrhaging up to 40% of your conversion data. Between aggressive iOS privacy updates, ad blockers, and heavy cookie restrictions, the browser pixel is essentially an obsolete technology when it comes to tracking real revenue. You are literally throwing your most valuable conversion signals right into a black hole. Let me ask you, are your actual Stripe purchases just mysteriously disappearing from your Meta Ads dashboard? Like you see the money hit your bank account, but Meta is sitting there claiming it drove 0 sales. When that happens, it is absolutely catastrophic for your campaigns, because if Meta cannot see your Stripe revenue, its algorithm is optimizing completely blindly. It doesn't know who bought, so it has no idea who to target next. This systematically destroys your ROAS over time. And look, most advertisers think their current Conversions API setup works fine. I guarantee you it absolutely doesn't. There's a massive divide right now between amateur setups and elite infrastructure. On one hand, you've got browser pixels. They are incredibly unreliable, heavily blocked, and they constantly leak your data. On the other hand, you have server-side webhooks. This is a completely unblockable, 100% accurate first-party data pipeline. We're talking strictly server-to-server tracking here. The second a payment processes, your server talks directly to Meta's server. There is no browser sitting in the middle to block that signal. So this is the new standard, the server-side tracking pipeline. To stop the bleeding, we have to intercept the financial data at the absolute source, which is Stripe. Then, we route it through a powerful automation engine like Make.com before securely pushing it directly into Meta CAPI. This architecture ensures that your first-party financial data is transmitted instantly between backend systems with 0 loss. Let's actually trace the exact data flow of how true first-party tracking works in the wild. Step 1. A user clicks your Meta ad, and that all-important Facebook click ID, the fbclid ID, is captured. Step 2. The user checks out via Stripe, and we dynamically append that fbclid ID directly into the Stripe session metadata. Step 3. A Make.com webhook instantly catches that payload the exact second the payment clears. And Step 4. Make.com formats the JSON payload and pushes it via the Metagraph API for 100% accurate attribution. But how do we practically catch this data? It all starts with the Make.com custom webhook. Think of this as a highly secure endpoint listener. Before you even log into Stripe, you have to generate this listener inside your Make.com scenario. It generates a unique, dedicated URL that acts as the exact destination where Stripe is going to fire its data payload the very moment a credit card is successfully charged. Now, here is a crucial point regarding what happens next inside your Stripe developer dashboard. When you paste that Make.com URL into Stripe to add an endpoint, it's going to ask you what events you want to listen to. I literally cannot stress this enough. Do not select all events. You must select strictly charge.succeeded. Listening only to verified successful charges guarantees that failed payments, declined cards, or duplicated checkouts do not falsely inflate your ad platform tracking. Once that clean payload hits Make.com, we enter what's called the data parsing layer. And honestly, this is the true differentiator where standard YouTube tutorials fail and elite's high-ticket attribution engines succeed. Because passing a simple money alert, that's easy. Passing the exact tracking parameter, that's incredibly hard. You have to configure your checkout page to append the URL tracking parameters into the Stripe session itself. From there, Make.com extracts the exact data.object.metadata.fbclid parameter so we can map it straight into your attribution pipeline. But here is exactly where amateur operators destroy their own tracking. Once you extract this data, you have to push it to the Meta API perfectly formatted. If you try to just guess this architecture, you are going to slam into critical API failure points. I'm talking about massive Meta CAPI 400 bad request errors. Missing event IDs that completely break your deduplication, missing metadata parameters, entirely invalid JSON payloads. Look, if you fail to hash customer data correctly, or if your timestamp parameters are off by even a fraction of a second, Meta just rejects the entire payload. Which brings us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How do you perfectly format that JSON payload, generate the exact event ID hashing, and route the HTTP modules without hitting API errors? Manual mapping almost always breaks attribution. The exact Meta CAPI structure and the exact deduplication setup are highly complex, and getting it wrong means your server-side tracking is basically useless. I am intentionally not showing you the raw JSON arrays here. Why? Because manually copying code from a video is a guaranteed way to break your API requests. And you absolutely cannot afford to break this, specifically because of event match quality, or EMQ. When you route this pure, unblockable first-party financial data using perfect JSON payloads, Meta matches the server-side purchases flawlessly. This effectively trains the Meta algorithm with perfect conversion signals. That drives up your EMQ scores and drastically lowers your cost per acquisition. High EMQ simply means the algorithm knows exactly who your highest value buyers are, and it goes out to find more of them. Ultimately, getting this right creates a total operational transformation for your business. When this Make.com automation is perfectly deployed, you achieve incredibly stable ROAS and real-time attribution. You've built a scalable server-side infrastructure. Your reliable purchase tracking is completely restored. Plus, you get to bypass the massive monthly fees of those third-party SaaS attribution tools because you actually own the infrastructure yourself. But to actually get there, you need the exact production-ready blueprint. You need the pre-mapped JSON payloads, you need the specific Make.com module setup to handle error routing, you need the precise deduplication setup to prevent double counting, and you need the full Webhook routing framework. Do not try to manually guess this setup. It will not work. And that is exactly why I broke down the complete production blueprint in a full guide. You need to head over to CreatorOpsMatrix.com/make-com-stripe-webhook-ad tracking. The complete Make.com scenario architecture, the full webhook mapping framework, the exact JSON payloads you need, it is all waiting inside this guide. Let me be clear. If you do not use this blueprint, your tracking is going to stay broken, and you will continue to bleed your Meta ROAS. Go to the URL on screen right now, download the guide, and deploy the fully mapped tracking system. So I'll leave you with this final critical thought. Are you going to keep optimizing blindly, letting browser pixels drop 40% of your hard-earned data? Or are you going to grab the blueprint and deploy the elite server-side infrastructure required to capture 100% of your revenue? The choice is entirely yours, but the algorithm waits for no one. Head over to the guide, lock in your tracking infrastructure, and I'll see you in the next explainer.